The following is an Operation Podcast production.
If you don't have life experience, you're never going to be strong. So if I jump you in the ocean and you can't swim, that's your own fault. You got to learn to stand on your own 2 feet. And the only way you do that is from what? Experience. That is where I get my strength from, because I grew up with nothing. I left home when I was 15. I have more life experience than anybody. So that's what makes me strong. Some people see problems and some people don't. I never even knew what a problem was until I came to LA. I was like, oh, that's a problem? That's how I grew up. What is an entrepreneur, like when you think about it? A real entrepreneur is not about how much money they make, how much success. It's about your story and how you made it happen. It's the truth, because at the end of the day, I want to hear your story. I want to hear that you were homeless. Like, people go through some stuff. I want people to understand it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And you can get out of it. And it's up to you to get out of it. Hi guys, I'm Kirby Gillon with Kirby Kosmetics here in Los Angeles. And we are here with Chase at Everford Radio. There was a time in my life when I was struggling and about moving forward. I called my friend up and I said, hey, whatever I was going through in my life. And she said, right now you see a dark tunnel. She said, but look at the end, the light will get closer every day. So she was like, just keep moving forward, moving forward, moving forward. And to this day, I always talk about it because she was right. Every day you're going to move forward, you're going to move forward, you're going to move forward. But one thing no one will ever take from me is that experience and that strength, because you can have the best education, but what makes you the strong person is what you've been through and how you handle it. And that's what makes you any type of person in life. And I think learning how to maneuver through life, instead of seeing like it being a problem, being like, okay, this is a problem I'm going to fix. Once you learn how to fix things, you don't see problems. You just see them as, I'm going to fix them, I'm going to fix them.
You only get to see opportunities now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's how I live life.
And that's how she lives ever forward. So great interpretation. Thank you so much for that. And with
You're
that,
welcome.
Kirby, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. For someone who told me that this is your first ever podcast, I wouldn't believe you, because you're here, you're present, you're locked in, your energy is incredible. And
Thank
you
you.
have
You
already
too.
just been sharing so many things that you are excited to talk about. So let's jump in.
Thank you.
Okay. So I would like to get the listener, the audience, kind of ready for the lesson or lessons they're going to hear and take home. And so to get them ready for that in maybe 1 to 2 hours after listening to this episode, they get to the end and they're going to saturate with it, marinate with it, and they're going to have this moment in a couple hours and go like, oh, that's what that means, or this is how I can apply it to my life. What do you think they're going to have after listening to this episode that they didn't have when they started?
Good question. So I was just listening to a billionaire this morning, and same thing. I learned that we relate, and I'm just like them. That's what makes me so special, is I'm not a regular person. I'm just like the regular person that grew up like you in a village, came from nothing. I did. One bus in, didn't go to school, didn't have an education. I'm dyslexic. So it just goes to show you, if you're like that, I'm with you. That's how I run my makeup brand too. It's a movement. It's not like a brand, because we're in it together. And I want people to understand that I'm not like, we're together. Does that make sense? It's like, it's hard to explain it, but I want people to understand I'm just like you. If I can do anything in life, so can you. And that is what my makeup brand is about. I don't know if you read a little about it, but it's about, I want it to be more of a movement rather than a brand, because a brand stands alone and I want it to stand together. That's important to me.
Relatability can seem really, really difficult when our perceived location on the map of success, timeline of success, but we're all kind of playing that game. The beginner entrepreneur, or the person who has an idea of something that they think they want to turn into a side hustle long before it ever turns into a business, compared to, to your point earlier, listening to a billionaire in the car. That seems so far away and so unrelatable. How do you think someone just starting their entrepreneurial journey can actually find relatability to the billionaire?
So I study people, because that's who I am. I love to relate to people too. Like when I'm stressed, I'm going for this new business, new life. I got this other business I'm running. So I'm working 7 days a week. And I always find ways that give me that aha moment. So I forget the guy's name, but he gave me like he said he had the same stuff as me. So if you can just get that 1% of like, okay, he went through that, maybe it's okay that I'm going through this, and understanding that it is okay. So now I related to his problem. So that means that I'm on a step closer to maybe where I'm supposed to be one day. Does that make sense?
So it's not so much, I can't relate to you where you are now because where I
can
am,
relate to where you are in life.
So then it's really, we need to not look at people where they are, but where they came from.
Exactly. That's a good way to look at it, and that's what I do. Love to relate, like astrology. I studied astrology, billionaires and millionaires, because when I first got into real estate, I was like, I got to figure out my destiny. I just knew that I had a bigger destiny, so I started studying people's destinies, getting on their lives together, and be like, okay, where do I come in this? Because I knew I had a bigger purpose, and when no one's telling you, so I was like, okay, how else do I find out? Let me go to my life path. Let me go to astrology. Let me see if there's a connection. And I found a little connection, but didn't get me nowhere, so now I'm still back to where I am. Got to do the hard work, got to put in the hours, and that's about it.
Okay, I'm down to kind of go rogue here a little bit. How would you connect to me then? How could you find relatability in me through this spiritual aspect? Let's go with astrology.
You're Libra.
So I'm a Libra, and Libra, Gemini.
Libras are tough. I just had a big conversation with the CEO of my company for real estate, and they're tough cookies.
How are we tough cookies?
Because you love to be in control, but it's not so much about the sign, it's everything. You're a different person. You did a different lifestyle. You have a different being. It's not just about Libra. Libra's your outer goal, about handling your emotions, make sure they stay balanced. Sometimes you react differently in a marriage than you would in your business. So it's a whole package. And I think when it comes to astrology, I read numbers, numerology, and I do astrology, and I time it all in. So when I go into a business meeting, I already know everything about the person. And it's not just to say that I could be wrong or right. It gives me a guide in how to move the room forward, because some people are very sensitive. So you got to know who you're speaking to.
Libras tend to be a little sensitive.
I was going to say that, but I didn't know how to say it. I'm a Scorpio. We're very sensitive. My husband's always telling me I'm sensitive.
It's a lot of the LA people.
Is a practice. It's a way of life. Like, you have to learn how to connect with yourself, your source, which is you. And I think that people get confused. You know, you always do what's right. And it's like, how I made it to be where I am today is through my spiritual practice, because I had to quit drinking. I had to stop smoking. I had to do everything harder than everybody else because they take the easy way, they lie, they cheat. And I'm like, I can't do that because of my belief, it's not good. So you have to go through more lessons, but it makes you stronger in the end up because you're like more stronger than everybody else.
Oh, could not agree more. I love that. Yeah.
And I think now the way the world is going, if you're not mentally physically there with God, you're going to be very lost in a hard place, because the world is so dark and deep, especially in Los Angeles with the amount of homeless, and it's really sad. I think that the reason why I'm so strong spiritually is because I've been in the dark place, and I needed to go through that to realize that I do have God to take me through it, and that's the only thing I have in life. And I think that's why I am so strong, is because of my God, is because of my practice. Because if they tell me something, it's, oh, you're this, you're going to do this, that's it. There's no looking back. If God tells me something inside, I know I'm going to achieve it because I believe in whatever God has to say, if that makes sense.
What was the darkest place you had ever been?
So the darkest place was probably 7 years ago. I went for a divorce and I had nothing. I come from nothing. So my family, are disabled. My mom's disabled. So I don't really have a chance to be like, oh, Mom, I need money. I need this. My business wasn't working. I left. I had a suitcase and I had to couch surf for a good few months. And it was probably my best life lessons I ever had, and I needed it because I go back and I talk about it now. I couldn't exercise. I love to exercise, so I'd go running. But when I went running, I would have a purpose. I'd be listening to positive music, telling myself, don't give up, don't give up. My mom would be crying. She'd say, come home, come home. I said, no, I can't come home.
Come home to Scotland?
Yeah, absolutely not doing it. Then,
and you were here at the time. You were here in LA?
Yeah, I was here. I was by myself. It was horrible. I would put myself to sleep. I was I was driving the bus to my $7 million listing. It was that bad. It was that bad. I had to get the 20 bus up to Bel Air, walk up there to show my client a listing for $7 million, act like I had a car when I didn't. And it just goes to show you how fast it can turn around if you just keep going, you keep going, and you always do what's right. And what I did was I prayed And I seen it, but I put it into action. A lot of people get confused with spiritual God. They go to church, but they forget to put in the work. That is the most important part. God opens up the door, but you have to jump. And you have to be brave enough to jump, because people don't jump. And then they're like, well, why did she do it? And I went to church and I did this and I prayed and I do this and I wear white and I go here. But did you put in the work? You're watching TV, you're doing this. Like when I say discipline, I mean like you're hanging around the wrong people, the wrong crowd, the wrong direction. You have to circle in and remove everybody from your life and realize, what do I need to do to take the next steps? That's how I changed my life completely.
How is entrepreneurship different for women than men, do you think?
Oh, that's pretty obvious. Everybody knows it's very different, because women get respected different in the business world. And it really depends on what type of entrepreneur you're trying to be. So in my business, I have a partner. Sometimes people look at him and don't look at me when they're doing business deals, which is probably, it's disgusting. Women have to deal with that type of stuff. It doesn't matter how strong, beautiful, tall, whenever you walk in the room, if a man's culture does not respect women, you're not going to get respected. That drives me crazy. But of course, I don't say nothing about it. But energetically, we just take over. And then they come to you and say, hey, I need your help now. Well, you wouldn't look at me before, but now you need my help. So it's definitely tougher for women. I have a team with a lot of women, and I teach them. I see a lot of things they do wrong at the beginning, but it's not their fault. It's just they've been guided wrong. So you just got to give them better advice. We don't do that. You don't need to go to dinners. You don't need to go to lunches with men. That's stupid. But that's what they were taught before.
That's a pretty old school mentality of male, female, typical business interaction, we probably, most of us grew up with or saw in the movies.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's harder. That's just an excuse. Women, we can do it. We can do anything we want. Men have different problems than women. So I just think that if you can do whatever you want in your life, if you see it and you want it, just go and get it. It doesn't matter what it, especially in America, we can do whatever it's freedom here. That's why I love America. You can do whatever you want.
What do you think what is unique about you being a female entrepreneur that makes you or any female entrepreneur more qualified to handle this type of problem over a male entrepreneur?
Oh, good question. Probably my life experience.
How so?
Because what is an entrepreneur? Like when you think about it, what is that meaning? I think the strong, so I always tell my team, if you don't have life experience, you're never going to be strong. So if I jump you in the ocean and you can't swim, that's your own fault. So you got to learn to stand on your own 2 feet. And the only way you do that is from what? Experience. That is where I get my strength from, because I grew up with nothing. I left home when I was 15. I have more life experience than anybody. So that's what makes me strong. That you can't pay. You can't go to school for that. And that's what makes me stand out as a human being is obviously, yes, I'm smart. I know how to tackle deals and do things, whatever I learned naturally. But where my true strength is, my past. What I've learned to learn from my mistakes and how I stand tall. Does it make sense? So it's like when you have 2 kids, one that grew up in the hood, one that grew up with money. Now you put them in the same situation out there in the business world. Someone says something to one, the one's going to cry, the other one's going to keep going because they have 2 different destinies. That's what makes someone stand out as an entrepreneur. You don't want to be given stuff. Given we call it luck. There's nothing good from luck. You don't learn lessons. It doesn't make you strong. Because what happens is, for example, the real estate market shifts. Now you have no talent because you got handed everything. So you don't know how to negotiate. You don't know how to switch in the market. Sellers are going to have excuses. The market's not great. It's not true. The market's always great. It's up to you and how you position it.
Take that. The market's always great. It's just, I forget exactly what you said. It's just
the strategy. What you put in your belief. When you say, let's use the market, because we talked about the market, because you made a comment about that when I came in, and this is what I'm hearing a lot. It's not the market. If you're going to have an excuse now, tomorrow's a war. Now COVID's back. Now the rates are back. It's like there's always going to be an excuse. Oh, it's because I was too tired that day and I want to get up and do the work. Oh, I didn't want to go on live and sell my products because I'm working 7 days a week, even though I just sold a $100 million home, and everybody's like, why don't you just take a break? No. Do you know what I'm saying? If I make excuses, it's always something. You just got to remove the excuses. That's why my team do so well, because there's no excuses. Zero, because I can relate to the excuses because I've been through it. So you have no, oh, I'm on my period, I can't make it today. Well, guess what? Next month's going to be the same problem. Then you miss your blessing. Girl told me her car didn't work, so she can't come today. And I says, well, take the bus.
Yeah.
You don't want it hard enough. You got to want it. This business industry, any business is too competitive. And if you don't want it and you don't want to show God that you don't want it, you're never going to get it.
Ooh.
It's the truth. It's the truth. You have to want it no matter what happens. And it's scary. It is scary because also I'm going into a business that's completely different. And I'm like, you know what? I'm putting so much money into it. I'm terrified because I'm like, that's just new business, new life, new money, new goals, new energy, but it's exciting. And I see the end result sometimes. You panic, you get into a moment, but you bring yourself back to center and you realize, okay, this is my destiny and I will make it happen because the way it makes me feel. Someone said to me today, and it just happened in the office, a big listing come on the market. It's like, oh, I'd love to be able to afford a house like that. What can I do? And I said, that's your problem. I said, you need to focus on something you love and the money will come in its own time. If you focus on the money and just the material things, you're never going to be successful. It was like, quiet. Exactly. People focus so much on the car, this and that, but they don't understand.
Chasing the wrong targets.
Chase your passion and you will you can change the whole world with something you love.
You were talking about the market, and if it hasn't been made clear, you came from the real estate market. And I want to kind of pick your brain on some of the amazing successes and learning curves, failures, if you will, in that past job, we'll say. So why the pivot from over $100 million in sales in real estate to beauty?
Good question. And I can be honest with you because you're a spiritual person and I love that. It was destiny. It was destiny. And I don't really talk about it like this, but I remember saying to my business partner, something is not there for me. I need more. Like, do I need to go running, classes, competition? Like I'm doing the nonprofits, I'm doing the videos. Something was missing. Do you ever get that feeling? And I love beauty. I had my mom came for Christmas, or wait, was it Christmas? A few months ago. And she was like, oh, I said, Mom, do you remember how much I love beauty? She said, beauty? She said, when you were 8, you were in your aunt's house with pockets full of makeup. I had to take you back and be like, why are you stealing your aunt's makeup? So it was just it was an organic thing, but also a spiritual thing because as I told you, I practice Ifa and they kept telling me I got to do a business with my own name. That's something I'm going to love that I have to pick. So you need to pray on it. So what happened was I was doing TikTok real estate, already hated it because the men were terrible. They always lie and say I wasn't selling these houses, whatever. So I hated it anyway. So I switched my TikTok and went to beauty. Then I realized, I was like, it would be amazing if I can do my own makeup brand, but also be more involved with women because that's my passion. I love women. I just love helping them, giving them advice. And that is why my brand is about a movement. And I'm going to eventually move more into that in the future so people can see we're in it together as a team. So people have that problems, they have issues, we all relate together. And the goal is to have everybody feel like you're on the same level as everybody. That's what makes me different because that's why people open up to me the most because I learn how to, talk to people and let them feel they can come to me in a special way. Yeah.
The word that comes to mind when you were describing why you made that pivot was fulfillment.
Yes.
Would you agree that you weren't feeling fulfilled and chasing fulfillment gave you, this newfound success?
Mm-hmm. That was a beautiful word, fulfillment. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it happens so fast.
It's tricky though, because we can be doing something or put ourselves on the path to do something, whether as a business or a project, that fulfills us. But fulfillment doesn't always pay the bills. Mm-hmm. I had this conversation with my brother last year, actually, who is another entrepreneur. We come from a long family of, our dad, our uncle, everyone just kind of winds up doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Max, I have so much passion in what I do and I'm fulfilled in every which way. But I was going through a little lull. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, you know what? Passion doesn't pay the bills sometimes. Mm-hmm. Passion doesn't pay the bills. And it really hurt to say that out loud because who wants to say what lights you up the most that you have turned into a career is going through a lull or is not maybe where you hope to be or think you should be comparatively. And so that I think was the biggest thing. It showed me where I was staying stuck in comparison and I'd gotten away from true fulfillment in acting solely out of my passion for my passion. And sometimes I think just saying your own woes out loud, especially in that environment, I was in a safe container, if you will. I was with someone that I love and I've known for my entire life. I'm with my brother who can relate as well. And he didn't even say anything really. And I kind of just it reverbed back to me. And I came home, and this year, about 40% increase over last year.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
So when you said that to me, because I'm always about giving lessons and teaching, my gut feeling, if you'd have called me, I would have been like, okay.
I will next time.
Go and find a podcast that makes a lot of money and focus on them and watch how they grow. I'm not saying you have to be in the same, but just know you'll get there. Because if they can do it, so can you. And that's why I would study people, because I'm like, okay, if he can make this money from nothing, then I can get there too. And it's scary. It is scary because I'm in the same position. And every single day I wake up, get to the office at 6:30. Everybody gets to the office at 10:30. I get there at 6:30. And I'm running two businesses. Team of 14 people. And then my other business, which I'm obsessed with. It was the best decision of my life. But it's costing me a lot of money, and it's a lot of time, and it's scary. But I do know it's just going to take time. Everything takes time. Nothing happens overnight. It's like weightlifting. Don't expect results overnight. And if you do, you are going to end up back in the hole because it's like patience, and nothing comes easy ever.
No, not at all. I still want to extract some value out of your real estate career, if that's okay.
Sure.
Are you open to talking about what was the largest commission you ever made selling a home?
I don't like to talk about that.
These are the juicy parts everyone wants to know about.
I know, but my mom asked me the same thing. I said, Mom, don't talk to me about money. I don't talk about it.
Okay.
Even my hairdresser. But what I am willing to say is I've sold a lot of big properties, and it came with a lot of hard work, but I try not to focus on the money.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of people come to me already and they're like, wow, why didn't you go on holiday after that big deal you just closed? And I'm like, I already forgot about it. It's done. Sad part of an entrepreneur.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
You worked your whole life for that moment, and then you're like, wait, I just sold a $100 million house and I'm already over it? That's what happens.
So, that's such an important point. It's yesterday I was sitting in here with Corey Richards, and he is one of the most renowned explorers, adventurers, National Geographic, climber, summited Everest, almost died in a avalanche. And he was, even someone like that is like, there's always another mountain.
That's a sad part.
There's always another mountain. Take us to a recent moment where, in your new career, after this pivot, you have realized, even though by my own design, I chose to lean into this kind of more spiritually driven, fulfilling passion project business, where recently have you also discovered there's still yet another mountain?
Every day. Every moment. I make mistakes all the time. So you're giving me anxiety talking about it. There's so many moments. This is what I'm saying, the mistakes I've made in this business. So I have a friend who's in this industry, and he said, I can't believe the shit, excuse my language, you've done the last 3 months. My team would take 2 years to do. But I ordered thousands of products, and I didn't put the color on the top. And when I came, I was like, I wanted to cry. But I was like, you know what? Let's go. We'll figure out the next step. And then I changed the packaging. We did it. We figured it out. And I positioned it differently to the market. And I can't cry anymore. It's things are too fast, but every day there's a mountain, and it's up to you and how you handle it. My husband always tells me I panic, but I think he just makes that up. Because you don't know how I be acting in the real world. I just panic in front of him, but then in front of my inner self, I'm like, okay, we got this. But there's always going to be a mountain. And that's the good thing about business is you don't see mountains. They're fun because what happens is when you fail, it was never a failure. It's going to teach you to get better. And you need to get better because when the big thing comes and you make a mistake on that big thing, you're already prepared for it.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
It's the more successful you get, the more problems you see. And you just fix them and move on. And that's how it is. There's
a level of trust that I think for some people might need to start as false motivation, a mantra, a creed, you write it out. You need to do, say, feel, write, be things, be it until you see it kind of thing, fake it until you make it. There's a level of false motivation that you have to have at any level, any place on the entrepreneurial journey, because that base point will change. In the very beginning, you have no experience and you have no idea what you're doing or how you're gonna make this sustainable, but you have a level of belief in yourself that you have to keep fanning. You have to keep fanning that. And then you get a year in, you get 5 years in. I'm currently in like year 7 of my entrepreneurial journey. And there are so many moments this year where I'm going, okay, this is not a failure. This does not need to be a pivot. This is a moment where my belief in myself, my resilience in myself, and my true belief in every moment leading up to this, am I going to now walk the talk kind of thing? Am I going to choose to go, every moment led me to this decision. Every other decision led me to this moment. And how am I going to use this to my advantage? Because if I truly believe in myself, then I believe that this moment right here is nothing but an opportunity.
True. I like that. But I want to make a comment on that, because sometimes people believe too much in themselves, but they're a little delusional.
How so?
How so? Because in business, you need to know, you can believe in yourself, but you got to know the numbers. Got to know the facts. That's what scares me. You got to know, okay, I've sold this amount of units, I've done this, I did that. I believe. But some people believe so much, they're not picking up the lessons, they're not running their business, they're not going over what's happening behind the scenes, because at a certain point, you should be making enough, if that makes sense. And if you're not, you need to put it out every single month and figure out how can we get better and how can we grow, because there should be no way that I'm making money. There should be no way that I am not successful. And if you think like that, then you start to see change. Okay, let's shift this. Let's do this. That's how I am. I'm an analyzer. And if something doesn't work, I figure it out. And it's drives me nuts. It's just who I am as a person. And even with my business, when my business shifted for me, it was when I started reading people, sales psychology. When I started studying people, I removed real estate, I put it in the trash, and I started analyzing people. That's when my business changed, because I knew how to walk into a room, sit down in front of these billionaire CEOs, and be confident, because they're understanding me and the way I'm talking. When you handle people like that, then they're like, okay, I feel comfortable with her. Because at the end of the day, real estate is very competitive. When I leave, there's 7 other people behind me, and you have 30 seconds to make an impress them or whatever you want to say. And I think when I started doing sales psychology is when I really changed my business.
Were there any books or podcasts or people?
Hundreds.
What were maybe the top 2 that come to mind that were great resources for you in becoming more capable in reading people and human psychology to navigate business?
Great person is Brian Tracy.
I'm not familiar with him.
You have to look into him. He's amazing. Old white man, old school. I still read his books to this day. I still tell my team, I just learned a new lesson today, even though I read the book 7 times.
What's his business? What was he known for?
His coach.
Oh, okay.
A coach. Okay. But he does everything. He does business. He does everything.
Okay.
But he also does sales training. He was a sales training guy, but he does everything, self-motivating, all types of stuff. But his techniques are all based on just sales, not real estate or all types of sales. Okay. And people look into him. He's really amazing.
When we are thinking of starting a business or just flexing that entrepreneur muscle, or even when we already are, we get hit with a lot of ideas, right? How do we know if this is the idea? How do we know that this is the one to act on? This is the one to fan that flame?
You know what? That's a good question, because I see a lot of people around me, entrepreneurs, and they're still indecisive. You just got to do it. Nike, you ever heard that saying, Nike? Just do it.
A little bit.
Think about it too much, analyze it too much, then you're in the wrong decision. For me, why did I come out with lip kits? Why did I do this? I did it like that. I didn't barely even thought about it. I just knew. If you're uncertain, move on. If you're uncertain, move on. I was a little uncertain with the next product, which was, I think it was mascara, but I took a step back and I thought about it. Then I said, perfect, boom, did it. But you just I think if you are a little uncertain on things, usually it's not right. Okay. That's how I am, right? Was that wrong answer?
No. There's no right or wrong answer.
Because when I do things, I sleep on it, think about it, pray on it, and then I just go for it and analyze, of course.
Okay. Are you familiar with Daniel Priestley? He's a British guy who I actually connected with him recently on another podcast, and he has this quote that I love. I would love to hear your take on it. He says, quote, "Sharpen our ideas in the market, not in our minds."
Ooh, that's exactly kind of what I was saying.
Yeah.
Sharpen our ideas in the market. Yeah, because I was going to say, you should know by your competition if it's going to fit right or not. And that's exactly what I was trying to say. I was like timing with the blush, with this, with that. I studied the whole market. I knew which one went viral. So I was like, this is the one. Yeah.
But there has to be a kind of a timeliness to that, right? So is it like really, truly just ready, fire, aim based on what you see already working in the market to execute on in terms of a product or service? You know,
well, for me,
okay,
where I am in my life, but right now I'm not trying to set trends because I'm not there yet. You don't want to do something different. Just do what everybody else is doing for now. And then when you get up there financially, then you can be like, all right, I'm going to set the trend. But if I'm going to do something different with no audience, which I do have an audience, but it's going to fall back. Do what works. Do what works and study it, but do it better. That's what I'm doing. I do what works, but I'm doing it better and I'm doing it my way.
Yeah, I love that little play. I'm going to rewind for the listener and viewer to kind of rewind and go, you know, did she really just say do what everyone else is doing? But when you think about it, that's very analytical because you already have proof of concept. Do what is already working if it kind of fits what you're thinking about doing, right? And then you know you have something that works, and then build up enough following, traction, revenue, awareness to make it your own. That's a unique perspective. I don't think a lot of people would say that.
Let me give you a perfect example. TikTok.
Yeah.
Everybody copies each other.
That's all virality is. It's just looking at a trend and doing it your way.
Yeah. That's the way people are right now until you're ready financially. Because you're like, you don't want to go so left when you don't know, like, I don't know if that's a bad thing to say as an entrepreneur, but in the makeup industry, why would I come up? I think personally as a brand, I was like, okay, let me just do what already works, but my way. Add in the skincare, which no one really is doing. Add in little things, but in the same techniques, but different. That's how I thought about it. I analyzed that, okay, and then also adding in my personal, you know, like the motivation. That's what's important to me is the brand. It's not about, you know, like, oh, let me stand out there and be on my own and be the center of attention. I hate that. I want other people to shine. Someone said to me, oh, by the way, your website, you don't have a picture of you on the front. That's stupid. I'm like, well, I don't really care. It's not about me. It's about women in general. The business is about women and us being together because at the end of the day, we go through so much, but when you put on makeup, no one really knows what's going on inside. That's how I want to look at it. And that's how women are. We're like, okay, today I'm going to wear this color with my blush because I'm feeling this way. Or I want to feel this way to go out because it's my big day and I got a listing, a presentation. So I'm going to wear my goddess energy. I'm going to wear my 90s bombshells, a little more chill. So it's like at every step of my business and my brand has a strategy and a calculated approach for women to take. That's how I look at it.
So I don't wear makeup, but I am intrigued by what lessons I can possibly learn and someone else who doesn't wear makeup from someone in a totally different career field than me. So as a woman's makeup brand founder, what lesson do you think would apply most to someone like me in, you know, the wellness and personal development space?
By, what do you mean? Like not wearing makeup or just learn from?
If you had to maybe think about, this is my number one or top two lessons I have learned as a makeup brand founder that you think someone in a totally different career could equally appreciate. Totally different field.
Personally, by even sitting in a room with me, you should know that you can achieve anything. Like that is what the key in life is. And that's why people love me is because I can relate to them because of my background.
There it is again. Yeah. Relatability.
Because I feel I'm on their level. The minute you step up and get out of people's level, they don't like you. And that's not how I am as a leader. I tell my team all the time, guys, if you're broke, I'm broke. If you're rich, I'm rich. We swim together. So when someone's down, we're down together. So we all need to get up and you got to work harder. And that's how I teach people. And that's how I am every day. The goal is to be together is like one. And then the minute you're like that ego, that energy, it's not part of my destiny. Hopefully not.
Relatability. There it is again. You know, I love to hear that. And I think no matter the field, if you can sit in a room with somebody and put the ego aside and put the comparison aside and put all the wants aside and just focus on what do I see in them that I also can see in myself. And when you can connect to that level, you're going to see all the other breadcrumbs of success. You're going to pick up a trait. You're going to pick up a mannerism. You're going to pick up a book tip, something as small as that just anything that piques your interest, not in the sense of, oh, they did it, therefore I have to do it, but, oh, I could see myself doing that.
Yeah. And that's why I think everybody, it's like looking to God, looking to a person. It's like, okay, I'm in a low place. I don't know what type of entrepreneur they are or anything, but just know that if you have an idea and just baby steps. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. If you don't know my life, I was like, oof. I went to school for bad kids when I was like 15. I'm dyslexic, so I couldn't learn, which is an issue as a child because back then when you're dyslexic, they think you have a problem. But I didn't have a problem. I just learned different. And that is how I'm different now because I had to teach myself. I taught myself everything. They didn't know how to teach me in school. So I got kicked out of school because I wanted out of school. And then I moved. I was a professional dancer. Did that, and then into real estate. That's when my whole life changed. That's when I was like, okay, this is my destiny. I just felt it, and I've just been so good at it ever since because I really enjoyed it. And it took a few people, like the CEO of my company, when he talks about him being dyslexic, I was like, wait a minute. You have the same issue? Then the guy
That's why we're in business together, yeah.
The guy we talked about, he said the same thing. He was at school. He couldn't learn. He had the same kind of issues, but he got a little bit different than me because he had someone teach him. I never had a teacher teach me, which is okay. We all have life lessons. But just knowing whatever you're dealing with, it's okay. You just figure it out. You could be going for a divorce. You could be doing this. I get a lot of excuses from my friends. Well, it's my upbringing. It was my parents. No, that's an excuse. If you stop making excuses, you can achieve anything in life. Put it on the board and do it. That's what I do. I put it on my board and I just work every day until I get closer and closer and closer. And I'm committed. So when you commit to something, there's no turning back.
I'm lit off of your energy right now. This is incredible. This is so
really?
Good. Yeah, I love it.
That's because I speak the truth.
Yeah, your truth. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
So when you're bringing this new brand, this new product, this new business to the market, how did you specifically market your product? This is all new territory for me. What did you try? What did you fail at?
Wasn't that I failed because I had a vision and I'm still just going for the vision, but I'll give you an example. TikTok. I seen and studied brands that had success only from TikTok. So I said, this is what I'm going to do. What I do is I don't copy, I watch and I learn and see how I can do the same, but do it better. Like I go back to before, you don't have to go too out of the way when it comes to business. They're all the same steps, maybe different colors. So what I did is I studied a few people and I said, okay, they're doing this. He inspired me. He made a big brand. Now he's in 94, 92 stores in the UK. I said, I love this. This is what I'm going to do. Or do it my way. So what I did is I started doing TikTok and then TikTok reached out to me and said, hey, we should do ads together. So now I'm doing my ads with TikTok. I have a TikTok manager.
Wow, that's incredible.
Wow. And then live. So really, I'm failing every day because we're still not there. So it's just about matter of like every single day, more and more and more and more and more. And right now, my only branding is TikTok. Like anything else, let me think, the website. So there was a moment in the meeting. Oh, I got to tell you this story. This is a good story. So I got a violation on TikTok for late packaging, which it wasn't my fault. It was a post office. Just if you're a TikToker, you'll know
for leaking packaging?
No, for not put your packaging on time. I did.
Okay.
I just didn't get a receipt from the post office because I'm stupid. Because when you have big bags full of packages, you just drop them off. They take them. Sometimes they don't scan them. So then TikTok gives you a violation. So what happened was I sat in the meeting with a TikTok lady and she said, we're going to take you off of TikTok, your marketing, and put it to your website. And I was like, no. Stop. I was like, we're going to master TikTok. You are not going to take me off of TikTok. We're going to do it like this. She's like, I'm not going to take you off of TikTok. We're going to have your sales come from TikTok, but to your website. And that's when I started seeing the results. We're getting like sales. One of my lip kits sold out. Me and my husband were fighting because I was like, what am I going to do? People are ordering. And I was like, because it's so new. But then I watched a video. Another, guy, you don't even want to know his name because they don't like him, but it came off of my thing.
Okay.
And he said, don't cancel them. Just give them an email or like an extra gift. So what I did for the pre-ones that sold out, I sent them like double kits. And I said, thank you for your time.
There you go.
Thank you for your time.
You're always in customer service.
Yeah, but
always,
I was a moment of panic because it never happened. It just like literally sold out and I was shocked. But then my packaging came like 5 days earlier. So I was only sold out for like 5 days or something like that. But it was a scary moment.
Well, no doubt. I'm sure it was a scary moment. But do you feel like that might have been a lesson in maybe I shouldn't put all my eggs in one basket?
Yeah. Well, it was just one lip kit. One
No,
color.
I'm talking about TikTok.
Oh, yes, of course.
So you're so invested in, and clearly because it's working in this one platform for your business. But here's an example of when that can go sideways and it takes away from your business. So did you just only focus on, and are you still only focused on correcting that hiccup on that platform? Or have you learned a lesson and going, okay, I don't want this to happen again. So we're doubling down on, or we're getting started at least on Instagram or Snapchat or a website?
We're doing it all. I'm on Instagram, I'm on YouTube, we're on everything, but I'm also focused on mastering TikTok. I'm not giving up because it was a little violation or a little mistake, because people do get really successful. I'm going to master it. And that's what I said when that happened. I said, okay, because if I run from the problem, I'm going to go back and it's going to happen again. And I'm going to have another problem with Instagram or Snapchat. So what I'm doing is mastering. I'm going to master it. I'm getting help. They're bringing in other people behind the scenes in TikTok to help the brand, because now they're seeing how much I'm growing fastly. So now I'm going to have behind the scenes help, which is going to help me maneuver around these violations, and I'll get there. But I'm also, obviously, I'm still on the other platforms. I'm still doing my lives. I'm still doing everything I can. But if something happens, I still want to focus on TikTok because I love TikTok and I want to get really big from it and then get into stores and everything and just, like the whole world or whatever.
All right. So this has been incredible. Again, so much. Enjoying this so much.
Thanks.
Let's get to a few more questions here. I forget where I heard this. I didn't write down, this isn't like an exact quote, but this is not a Chase Shooting original. I'll say this. A good entrepreneur has the mindset of a scientist, maybe even a mad scientist. Would you agree? And would you describe your entrepreneurial journey, as being a mad scientist?
Yeah.
What does that look like in your life and your business?
Analyze. Scientists is study. You study everything. That's to me what a scientist is, right? I've been saying that the whole way. For this whole thing, I study, I analyze, I study. And one of the reasons why I did do a makeup brand in the first place, because I was spending so much time on TikTok. And I was like, I need to make money from this. Like studying. That's what a scientist is. They study, right? I don't know much about scientists. So am I right? Am I wrong?
No, I'll just kind of share notes with you as well. That worked for me. I this year got even so obsessed. Another aspect of YouTube was the analytics. And just looking at it gives you, that's the beauty of these platforms. I'm sure TikTok is the same. If you spend time to look at the information that they give you, that you don't even need to go in and like pull reports or do your own spreadsheets. If you look at your analytics, it gives you so much information on what is working, what is not, what even your quote competitors are doing, and how to kind of leverage your titles, your thumbnails, your captions, your all this stuff. And so by focusing on that, the YouTube channel for this show this year has turned into a multiple 5-figure platform. And I did not focus on how do I make this channel make more money. I focused on how do I make this perform better. And by focusing on performance and those analytics, it therefore turned into a higher revenue generating platform than I ever thought.
Yeah, I don't focus on the money. I focus on, what did the lady in TikTok? She was like, what do you want? I was like, I want brand recognition. That's what's important to me. Of course, we all want to make money, but you got to worry about the money eventually, but the money will come. It will always come. Success will always bring money. It should, right? But you got to understand, like, even like what you said about the scientists is studying the analytics. Like for me, I'm always looking at ways to grow. That's just who my personality is. I'm so grateful that I am the human being today. Like my mom always apologized for my upbringing. I'm like, Mom, it's the best thing that happened to me. I wish you could let go of it because I had a rough childhood.
Yeah.
And I needed that because you know what? I didn't turn back. I remember calling my mom when I was like 14. She was like, just come home. I was like, Mom, you're not supposed to tell me this. You're supposed to say you got this. I went to like a school, I got into like a dance school away from my family. And I remember it was performing arts just going to call my mom. I was like, Mom, crying. I hated them because they're all posh and I wasn't posh. They all spoke English, which I know I'm Scottish, but I sound American now. But back then I was really Scottish and I cried and she said, come home. And I was like, Mom, no. I hung up the phone, went back to dance class. And then look at my life to this day. Imagine if I went home. No. And that's a good thing about it. My parents never pushed me. It was all intentionally by myself. Everything. Imagine they did push me. Well, maybe I would never been where I am. You just never know. I think life happens for a reason.
You know, that kind of just landed on me differently. Now I'm about to be a dad. And I think I'm so excited.
Congrats.
Thank you.
So exciting.
I think that is probably the worst advice. The worst thing I could ever do for my kid is to tell them, come home when they are struggling. With a grain of salt, you know, of course, they're always going to have a place by my side and my wife's side. And, you know, they will always have safe haven with us. But just to know that you're struggling to figure something out in life and school and your business, I'm just thinking, like, I would never want to, at least not first, tell them, son, come home. Don't worry about your problems. Come home with your tail tucked between your legs. We'll coddle you. We'll let you just, you know, stay over here until the problem magically, mysteriously goes away. No, I'm hearing that in your story as well. I mean, I'm sure your mother was just doing it, being a good mother. She loves you. She just wants you safe. But just come home, like, no. And that's so incredible that you heard her say that and go, that's not the right thing to do. That's the easy thing to do, but it's not for me.
But it's very common. I work in Beverly Hills and there's a lot of privileged children and they struggle mentally, physically, and emotionally because they can't survive out there. And it's because of their parents. It's not their fault. Mm-hmm. And it's really sad. It also makes me nervous, you know, when I get pregnant, I'll be like, oh my God, am I going to be that one? It's just like, okay, let me just take you to get a brand new Porsche, Chanel purse, and you're 15. It's not teaching them anything. Mm-hmm. That's the scariest thing. It's like you go in the swimming pool, we talked about it, drown. You don't swim, what's going to happen? But the only way people learn is by lessons. And if you give a kid too many things, they didn't learn any lessons. You never learned nothing. So how are you going to survive in the real world? When you get an emotionally breakdown by someone, you're going to be like, all sensitive, go home and cry, be depressed for 2 weeks. But when you're a tough person and you realize, okay, I've been through this too many times, nothing. Some people see problems and some people don't. I never even knew what a problem was until I came to LA. I was like, oh, that's a problem? That's how I grew up. We just do things. Yeah. There's no problems. Yeah. That's how life is. I didn't realize my life was so hard until I moved away. And I went, wow, that's how I grew up. Like, it was intense. But I needed it as a child. And that's why I am the person I am today. So if anybody's going through anything in life, use it to your advantage. That's what I tell people. Use it. Use it for your strength, for your lessons, because a real entrepreneur is not about how much money they make, how much success. It's about your story and how you made it happen. That's what, to me, an entrepreneur is. It's the truth, because at the end of the day, it's like, I want to hear your story. I want to hear that you were homeless. Like, people go through some stuff, and I want people to understand it's okay not to be okay.
Yeah.
And you can get out of it, and it's up to you to get out of it. And I tell people all the time, that God will open that door. But if you just want to be lazy and make excuses, the door's going to shut wide closed fast.
Kirby, I know you're going to keep going and going and going. This has just been, what a hell of a way to kickstart my day of, just podcasting all day. You have set the bar super high. Where can my audience go to connect with you, learn more about your story, your brand, the beauty, the real estate, all the things you're up to?
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok. I have Kirby Kosmetics with a K instead of a C. So it's Kirby Kosmetics with a K. And then we're big on TikTok. So TikTok. And then I also have TikTok, but it's hard to post on all, when I got my brand, I'm working on.
Girl, preach. I know. Yeah. So pick a lane, master it, to your point.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So TikTok, find me on TikTok.
All right.
Any questions you can ask me. I love helping people. I love to help people.
And I'll say down the road, if you see the Everforward Radio or probably Everforward Radio, TikTok blow up, it's probably because of this lady right here. I feel like I'm going to be watching and learning a lot from you.
Oh, you too. Vice versa.
Thank you.
Destiny.
Boom. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ooh.